Hello, my name is DaeGeon Kim, Department of Architectural Engineering, Dongso University. Uh, I major research in innovative technologies based on construction IT convergence. We look forward to working with you in many research achieved in the future. From now on, I will start presentation. Uh, the structure earthquake analysis program using computer aided IT sensor. Uh, this is the table of contents. We'll proceed with the presentation and add to in our of introduction methodology hybrid experimental configuration red plugin experiment configuration traction hybrid test example and conclusions. First, introduction. On earthquake, occurred in Nepal in 2015, and we realized that Korean could not be a safe zone for earthquake. Through the Gyeongju earthquake in 2016 and the Pohang earthquake in 2017. In most domestic experiments, the damper was conducted only as a static test, making it impossible to evaluate properly. However, the hybrid experimentally analysis system in this study has been applied as an experimentally and analytical system that more accurately reflects the behavior of equipment-induced dampers. Hybrid experimental techniques analyze the behavior of the entire structure by dividing the test and analysis parts into substructures, which are very economical because the experiments consist of only one of the experimental parts and are more reliable than the result of analyzing the entire structure in real time. The figure on the left is the progress of the study, which is the hybrid test system that analyzes the entire structure by dividing into substructure rather than analyzing or testing the entire structure by applying damper test to the analysis of the building. The goal of this experimental technique is the design and development of dampers in the future and the building seismic analysis processes for complex analytical structures with dampers. Chapter 2. methodology. The figure on the left is the concept of static condensation and subtraction. In subtraction, his dynamic seismic response test. Members or household considered to have a significant impact on response properties, especially in the structures under review, are replaced by mathematical models. It is one of the experimentary techniques for simulating seismic reactings across structure through numerical analysis. The picture on the left is the fuse dynamic testing method. Hybrid testing is an experimentally method that introduce substructure technique in first dynamic testing to evaluate the seismic behavior of the structure efficiently and more realistically. In parallel with load test and analysis, the seismic response of the structure is simulated simultaneously analysis by local partial tests, testing of structural elements of substructures. The advantage of this experimental technique are to avoid the problem of scale, in which samples from the snaking table fit the size of the snaking table. To be able to responsibly handle the seismic response of the structure as well as scale samples, and to observe the future process in detail. With these device analytical problems, you can create realistic structural analysis models for complex structures. Feedback on experimental and analytical results on the time-by-time basis, and obtain the behavior of the entire structure through dynamic equation of motion. Okay, and 10 phase. Shear type dampers can increase the damping efficiency of horizontal loads with shear type variation damping devices that can be installed in the center of the connected beam, where bending moments are really generated in the connected beam and maximum shear deformation occur. Installing an energy dissipator during the beam can release more energy from the beam, which requires a lot of shear force. Figure 4 shows the installation locates of the shear grinding beam and the damper and energy dissipation device can be applied to the shear wall to minimize damage to excite instruction by utilizing the deformation and cross sections force of the shear wall. Figure 5 is a diagram that distributes the shear force of fully beam on the behavior of building during earthquake. Chapter 3: Hybrid experimentally configuration. With a variety of communication protocol, you can test from a single degree of freedom system to highly complex structures. In these hybrid equipments, in order to see the dynamic pulse expert on the structure in more detail by integrating the seismic acceleration, the velocity and displacement, and made by integrating the seismic acceleration and the displacement value in divided into 500 steps. In the experiment, the actual actor's displacement value transmitted through left plug-in is transmitted to the third subtraction of the MDL3, and the DEMS experimental result is transmitted as an analysis value through left plug-in. Because of the displacement control, the displacement of the MDL3 node is transferred to left plug-in to move the actor, extracting the reference value from the load cell connected to the shear damp due to the displacement of the actor, and returning the program analysis. Chapter 4: Left plug-in. The figure of the left shows the relationship between UL SIM core and left plug-in. In a hybrid experiment, the displacement of each node is transferred to a modular substructure of the UI SIM core, and the reaction force is measured by an analytical program or experimental and injected into the entire structure matrix for analysis. Experimental data can only be sent to programs with communication systems such as TCP/IP. Figure 9 shows left plug-in flight when data interacts between programs for the entire interpretation flow. When performing a hybrid experiment, left plug-in receive displacement data from UI SIM core or TCP/IP, moves the actors by that displacement to measure the displacement and load value of the actor, and send them to UI SIM core to interpret the experiment data. Table 1 above define the test trail damper applicable to this study. The picture of the left is steel damper drawing, and the picture of the right is hybrid experimental diagram. Chapter 5 Experimental Configuration. To verify the hybrid experimental technique, we conducted frequently design tests for structural analysis and terminal induction test. This is summarized in the table above. The resulting data is validated against other programs. This is experiment use actors to access to seismic performance of real shear dampers. At 100 ton, hydronic actors was used and the test damper was installed. The leftmost top figure is the experimental setting, and the bottom figure is the experimental setting in 3D. Measurement with made using gradient and 3496728 meters. The picture of the upper and lower right side are the actual setting picture and the damper installation pictures. Chapter 6 Structure Hybrid Test Example. Hybrid experiments are constructed by applied finite element method to building to be analysis, and the subtractive analysis method are applied to properly segment building models. Construct individual analysis program or test subjects and recollect experiment and analysis result into UI. The left picture is a diagram of the process of the interacting experimental data through relay flowing during a hybrid experiment. Multi-site online simulation test. Example structure is an example structure provided by UI SimCore. The main program of hybrid experiment created by NES, and the result date is validated against other programs. The figure of the left shows the application of steel dampers of the model. When installing shear dampers on the central column of the structure, analyze the behavior of the dampers to analyze the impact of the overall structure. Figure 21 shows the force displacement of the structure with ground acceleration, and figure 22 shows the force displacement graph for the nodes. In figure 21, 500 QS dynamic analysis at 0.01 second interval show that the displacement of the structure moves 6 milli and minus 7 milli at the origin. So the maximum wider of the 13 milli has the greatest effect on the structure. Figure 23 shows the force displacement of the damper mounted structure, and figure 24 shows the force displacement graph for the node. In the model where the shear type steel damper is installed on the two node center column by applying the hybrid system, the displacement is similar to the displacement applied in the OpenC analysis. As the nodes for each column, however, the force displacement graph changes slightly under the influence of the damper, unlike the linear graph in the OpenC analysis. Figure 25 shows the force displacement graph of the damper experimental data when the structure is analyzed by the Kiss state dynamic analysis. Finally, Chapter 7 conclusion. In this study, a hybrid test system was constructed to analyze the complex structure due to the application of damp. Hybrid test system is an experimental technique that analyzes the whole structure by dividing the whole structure into structures, combining the experimental result of the damper with the analysis result of the other parts through the analysis program. The structure of the damper against the earthquake of non-linear structure controlled by shear type damper was analyzed by testing the structure of steel damper, which is the test bed of shear type brake damper. In future research, it is necessary to reduce the error caused by time difference, instrument error, and understanding of the model due to seismic error. It is expected that the constructed hybrid test system will be more economical and reliable for the study of the seismic control, applying partial experimental data on non-linear behavioral structure in the future. Okay, thank you for listening to my presentation.